These are 4 good ways to wrestle in live wrestling and practices that will help take your wrestling to a new level. There's 4 ways. Number 1, obviously, when you're live wrestling in practice, you're wrestling just like you would in a match. You're trying to win. You're trying not to get scored on. You're wrestling smart yet aggressive, and you're just trying to win every takedown, stalemate, bad positions. Pretty much just wrestling like you would in a match. The second way is, I would like to encourage you to just try to score a lot of points. Don't worry about winning. You might even lose to kids that by wrestling smart and controlled, you can beat closely, but who cares? It's practice. So designate some practice time to say, I'm going to get 100 takedowns as practice. And throw the kitchen sink at them. This is going to make you realize that you probably had the parking brake on just a little bit. You're probably leaving points on the table. There's probably more takedowns in your arsenal, and maybe that you didn't know you have, that now you have the confidence to, or that we're close, but after trying this a few times, you get to where you can score, and you kind of work the kinks out. So now, after a handful of practices of just plowing forward and trying to score a lot of points, your whole game starts to improve. Back in the day, when they had hot rods, street rods, they didn't have electronic fuel injection. They had a carburetor, and it was called blowing out the carburetor, right? You have to run the car hard, heat it up, and just kind of get the debris working through the carburetor. So that is a term that those of us who are my age might remember, and that we learn that in track sometimes too. To sprint, blow out the carburetor. Let's try to get this thing going. The third way to wrestle is 100% defense. Get great opponents and don't let them touch your leg. Working your positioning, taking pride in the fact that people can't touch your leg is very powerful. So some days you go just on defense. We're talking about when we're on our feet. I know when my brother was at the Olympic Training Center, sometimes they would have, I'm talking, world team members, NCAA champs, good opponents. There'd be 4 guys, and the guy out on the mat was out there for 3 minutes straight. And so, you get one NCAA champ, they're trying to take you down for 3 minutes. Then another one comes in. Then a World Cup silver medalist comes in. Great opponents. And you're out there for 12 minutes straight against 4 great opponents, and your goal is to never let anybody touch your legs. And it really is a good way to shore up your wrestling. So sometimes we're blowing out the carburetor, sometimes we're defense only, sometimes we're wrestling just like we would in a regular competition. And the fourth way would be let everybody on your legs and then work defense. Not scrambling. We don't want to fall to our butt and scoot around. That's last resort. I'm talking about hip pressure defense, the kind of defense that you see Minnesota, Oklahoma State, Iowa, just core, solid hip pressure defense. So you're going to let people in. And what this does is gives you live wrestling minutes, a lot of them, from a defensive position. There's 2 defensive positions. One is a front headlock, and one is hip pressure defense. Those of you that come to our camps know that we work both. Hip pressure defense, what happens is the better wrestlers, a lot of times they destroy their competition. There's only a couple matches a year that they have close matches, and then they get into the, they get late into maybe an overtime and the semis against a defending state champ. Boom, someone's in deep on their legs, and they lose the position. Well, because in competition, no one's getting in on their legs. So you have to realize that. Now, sometimes the more developing wrestlers, people are all over them. Sometimes their defense is better than the elite wrestler. So all of us need to do this, but especially if you're more of an elite wrestler, people aren't going to get your legs very often. You have to let them in, not in a match, but in practice. Let them in on your legs deep. All leg attacks they can have. Sometimes your coach will start you in these. They're called situations. But you can do this as well. So when you're wrestling live in practice, manipulate the practice in those 4 ways. And I think your wrestling will hit a new level. Because now when someone gets in deep on your legs in the semis of the semifinals match, it doesn't bother you because you've been there before quite a bit. And so how often should you do this? I would probably say, you know, three practices maybe is normal wrestling. Then maybe pick one practice and say the first half of practice I'm all offense, second half I'm all defense. Tomorrow the first half of practice I'm letting people all over me. Might even change from partner to partner. You might get a tremendous leg attacker and you might let him in on your legs. And because if I can stop him, I can stop anyone. I also might take that same tremendous wrestler and say I'm 100% on defense. Okay? Now when you're wrestling a tremendous wrestler, you know, you might pick him and say, this is the guy I'm throwing the kitchen sink at. You might not score very much, but you're really learning. And then you get the easier opponent. So I think this is good advice for no matter the quality of your opponent. But you need to mix it up and manipulate this live wrestling practices so that you're actually getting better and you're sort of pushing the envelope a little bit and you're navigating through these different pathways and you're not just tying up and trying to score and wrestling the normal way. So great advice. Check us out. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Subscribe to our channel. Check us out at purlerwrestling.com. And hopefully this video helps you to take your wrestling to a new level. That's why I'm putting these out. So you can learn about the sport of wrestling, everything that I have learned. And, you know, you might be 6 or 8 years old learning these cutting edge ideas. And that's my goal, is to help everyone.